Now, what happened next in my career, even I wasn't prepared for. To be fair, I thought I was headed back to USC for my last year, get my degree, get into journalism, you know, that. Well, after last season, winning damn near every award and then Heisman, there were new plans for my life. Of course, being a Heisman winner meant there were a lot of endorsements headed my way, but before we could get into any of that, I needed an agent. Then I did a bunch of interviews, spoke with more agents, found out I needed a manager. Wait a minute. This was a lot. I really just needed a chance to breathe and process all of this because the way people were acting, it was as if I didn't capitalize on this moment, then it wasn't going to happen. And in a sense, they were correct. Coming off the success of my last season in college, NFL teams were coming after me, all making promises that all sounded the same. My favorite line was, "If you fall to this pick, we would love to have you." But let's look at the statistics. Running backs take the most damage in their careers. On top of that, I'm already a huge risk because I'm pushing 300 pounds. On top of that, there's always going to be the next best thing coming out of the same position I was in. So I wasn't really interested in the meetings and the promises, and I'm going to say this as genuinely as I know how, and that's just straight up. I was looking for the best bag possible. Forget all the promises. I wanted the best deal on paper with a guarantee included. And honestly, that's when I started weeding through the promises. I was a higher risk draft prospect solely due to my weight, and I respected that more than the lies. Because I don't know about the other prospects, but I wasn't trying to get to the draft night and be the one sitting looking stupid when my name is never called. So after being brutally honest with the scouts and them being brutally honest with me, there was one team that was really and truly invested. So much so that they even invited me to a private tryout based on the fact that they knew my potential and would rather I not go to the combine and reserve the number solely for them. And in hindsight, that sounds crazy, but they had gained my trust so much at that point I was locked in. So coaching staff brought me out. We ran some drills, discussed situations that I might come across as an NFL player. I mean, pretty much treated me as if I was already on the team. It was an amazing experience. Then word got out that I wasn't participating in the draft combine, and things went left in the sports media quickly.
I mean, who in the hell does he think he is? 300 pounds? I'm sure he's well over that now, sitting at home doing nothing, eating a pizza. It's blasphemy. How dare you think for 1 second that NFL teams are just foaming at the mouth to draft you? Yes, you won the Heisman and plenty other awards from this past season, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. Who is the elephant in the room, Steven, you might ask? And I hate to be facetious, my brother, but you are the elephant in question. You are the elephant in the room. I can't believe that I'm saying this, but Jeremy Whitney will be a bust. He won't even survive the preseason. And you can tell him Stephen A. Smith said that.
Listen, if I lived my life according to what the media had to say, then I wouldn't have made it this far in my career. But yet, and still, here I am. By the way, Stephen A. Smith and I are great friends to this day. But let's fast forward through the boring parts and get straight to the draft. Coach Prime did show up on my behalf that night, and I still appreciate everything he did for me in my career. Again, he was the first to really let me be me on the field, and if it hadn't been for him, I don't think the world would have really seen my potential put on display at USC. First round, pick 13 goes to the New York Jets, and that's where I was picked up at. The contract was good for 4 years worth $17.6 million, and I know this is unusual for rookie contracts, but I got $8 million guaranteed. It's crazy that some teams weren't even interested in a guarantee, but the Jets were looking for someone as dominant as me to round out the offense. I didn't waste any time signing that contract, and I'm not going to waste your time getting into the season. My rookie debut was against the true New York team in the Buffalo Bills. My first carry was the opening play for our season, and I did not disappoint with my first rush being for 13 yards. No way was I going to let people think I was going to be a bust. Can I just mention being lined up next to Aaron Rodgers as a rookie? Bro, what? My dad was a huge fan of Aaron, and I mean, all he could do was talk about wanting to light him up. But still, he was a fan. My next big run, I had to hit my little dancey dance, and my welcome to the NFL moment was shortly after that. Aaron was on my head about the celebration and told me to save it for the end zone. Stop wasting my time out on the field and get back in the huddle so we can put up some points. What a high killer that was for me, because I thought I was doing something. Then I started to notice that the team was actually putting up points without me being on the field. So I had to come back out and lock in, and I do that, catching a tough pass from Aaron to move the chains. My next play, I was finally able to show off my strength as I stiff arm a defender to capture some extra yards before going down. I started to see my role early for this team and just flat out, I was the tough yard getter. Coach had warned me before committing to the team that I was going to be getting anywhere from 25 to 30 touches a game. Now, y'all should know me by now and realize I was more than happy to hear that, but it was something about the way these NFL players were hitting that made me want to reconsider. I mean, I might bounce off one player, but the second guy coming in to hit had bad intentions connected to it. But we ended up taking an L in our season opener, 23-14. I had 24 carries for 114 yards. I honestly wasn't too upset about losing our first game of the season. I had to be fair. There were a lot of new pieces to this team, and the coaching staff was doing their best to figure out which pieces went together to create success for us down the line. But just in our second game of the season, late in the second quarter, we lost our biggest piece to the puzzle. Aaron Rodgers gets sacked the wrong way and is taken off the field with an undisclosed injury, and the energy on that field shifted as the coach brings in Zach Wilson, and coach pulls me aside and says, "I hope you're ready to prove you're not a bust to the world." I didn't know what he meant until I got back out on the field because damn near every play was going to me. 3rd and 2, I get the call again. I follow my blocks, knock a guy off his feet, and move the chains. 3rd and 5, I get the call again. This time I see my blocks on the outside getting us another first down. I had to flex on them boys after that one. 2nd and 13. Linemen are literally throwing their assignments to the ground as they lead the way for me to get a nice 17-yard run to put us in the red zone. The very next play, I get us even closer to the promised land as I find a couple of gaps in the defense and get taken down at the 10-yard line. The play after that, I thought this was it as I put my head down and get taken down inches before I reach the end zone. You know we had to run it back as the line pushes everyone in the end zone, and I walked in behind them to score my first NFL touchdown, and you know we had to show out just a little bit. Now that score tied the game up. Our defense came out and got a stop on 3rd and 4. Zach drops back, finds me on a dump down. I push one in the dirt, fighting for the first, but end up actually scoring another touchdown. 2 touchdowns in one game. I was through the roof with excitement, and unfortunately all it took was Aaron Rodgers getting injured. Crazy, because that was the good news. Bad news was that Dallas came back out and scored, sending us to overtime. Luckily we got the ball first, and my first carry was another huge one, setting the pace for us. Zach gets us another first down after a nice throw and catch, and it's my turn again. I find the right holes and get us down to the 19-yard line. Coach calls a pass play, and when you know it, Zach dots up and gets us the score to win the game. I rush for a nice 213 yards with 1 rushing and receiving touchdown.
Touchdown, New York.
You know, I hate to say it, but we were really finding ourselves as players without Aaron being there. Coming off a win last week in OT after he went down, and now we're in week 3, starting and finishing without him is huge. Bro, not only was I making plays on the ground, but Zach was eating as well. Being a dual threat QB with a real threat standing behind him was going to be nasty, and Zach was really like that. He would throw a pass for a first down using his feet to avoid the sack one play. Then I would follow up right behind him, back on the ground, reading my holes and getting a first down as well. Late in the 3rd quarter, we were down by 1 and we needed to score. Coach calls my number and I open it up for a nice 12-yard run. 3rd and 10, Zach drops back. He's not making the reads I think he should make. Instead, I become a playmaker and Zach throws it to me in a super tight window for a first down on the 2-yard line. We line up in the strong I, and I'm in for another rushing touchdown on the season. And not only that, but coach wants to go for 2 and puts it in my hand, and I'm back in, no sweat. But of course, the defense can't get a stop, and not only that, but we're down by 3 with 1 minute left in the game. Coach hands me the ball on 2nd and 11, and I get us a first down. The next play, I put my body on the line, calling for a pass from Zach to get us closer to the 40-yard line. Zach took some sacks, and instead of sending out the kicking team, coach sends us out for the Hail Mary, which would turn out to be genius due to a pass interference call in the end zone. Now, coach pulls me out of the game. We go for it with 1 second left on the clock, and we end up losing. Next game is against Kansas City, and we already know they have a potent offense, so that means we have to come out standing on business. Luckily, my offensive line is on the same wave, and I start the game with an 18-yard run. Now, unfortunately, that drive only gives us 3 points, and Kansas City is now up by 11. I'm breaking to the outside, hopefully giving the team the momentum boost they need to turn it up just a little. Coach decides to run the same play again, and I'm giving him similar results. Then from the 3-yard line, We get our first touchdown of the game before going in for halftime. In the locker room, coach was telling me he was going to lean on me this next half, so I needed to get prepared mentally for the physical abuse I was about to take. After the catch I made, I had to flex on my opponents to let them know I was still standing strong, because I come right back that very next play, bounce to the outside and get us another first down. 2nd and 7, coach sends me on a wheel route and no one is guarding me, so after the catch, I get about 15 more yards and put us in position to score. Coach was serious about leaning on me because I'm getting the call from the 6-yard line this time as the line opens a huge hole and I'm back into the end zone. Now, I was hoping that the defense would get a stop, which they didn't, and I was hoping that we would score regardless, but neither one of those wishes came true as we lose another game on the season, 24-17. I rushed for 107 yards and had 2 rushing touchdowns. Next week, the pressure was even higher as we faced off against Denver, where I opened up the game with an almost patent and big run. That turned into nothing and Denver was on the board with 10 my next drive. On 2nd and 6, I'm back to the outside and I pick up another first down. The next play, I run through another big gap for another first down, and it's starting to look as if we are a run-heavy offense. Zach wasn't really able to make those plays he was making in week 2 and 3, and coach was looking to give me the ball as much as possible. And on 2nd and 10, late in the second, I run behind my blockers, break a tackle, and somehow come out of the rubble. Not only that, but I break 2 more tackles for what would be a defining moment in my NFL career as I scored a huge touchdown in Denver, because after that play, I was humbly known as the Mack Truck. The way I would run people over, and once I catch speed, I was hard to stop. And although we were losing, I could tell the fans in the stands were wanting to see more of me. I mean, every time I would get the ball, I was running through somebody, and the crowd would react every time. I don't know how, but the away team's crowd was giving me energy to continue. I eventually walked into the end zone for the 2nd time of the game, but again, we were still down. Defense actually gets off the field, leaving us enough time to tie the game up. On 2nd and 10, I get the ball to get us another first down. Coach pulls me out and sends me back in with 17 seconds left with the ball on the 1-yard line. I do my job putting us an extra point away from tying the game up. But to everyone's surprise, we go for 2 without me on the field and we lose yet again. But that game I rushed for 210 yards and had 3 rushing touchdowns. I can't lie, that was a dumb loss on the coach's behalf, especially coming into a tough game against the Eagles. As much as I hated that for the team, and especially me, I knew this was no place to hold grudges because the NFL season is going to move on with or without you, and I wasn't one to be left behind. Speaking of being left behind, here we were again losing early in a tough game, trying to play catch up against a very strong defense. I'm trying my best to play my role on this team, and on 3rd and 10, Zach finds me on the sideline where I make a crazy catch to keep the chains moving. Zach makes another great pass and catch to get us on the 4-yard line, where you already know I get the go-ahead to run it into the end zone. Shout out to our defense this game for not only putting us back on the field over and over again, but getting a safety to put us up by 2 points, and all we need to do is kill the clock. But on 1st and goal, we had something extra planned as the line opens the gates for me, and I have no choice but to score, putting us further in the lead. I'm glad we scored because the Eagles scored in record timing without using a timeout. But the defense had nothing to worry about because the Eagles defense was finding it hard to continue to chase me down. And on 3rd and inches, I go for my last run of the game, which would be another touchdown to hopefully put this game out of reach. In a shocking upset, we beat the Eagles 17-26. I rushed for 163 yards and had 3 rushing touchdowns. The Mack Truck was in full effect from that point on, and I was loving every bit of it.
For the first time in history on this platform that I have been blessed with, I'm going to have to apologize. Now, I know I don't do this often, but this one is needed. I'm a man, a full-grown man to be exact. And when I say this, I know it's going to be a shock to most, but it will not be to some. There are a lot of players that I could compare him to, and a couple of the names you might like. For instance, the Fridge, and the one I love the most, the Bus, Jerome Bettis. I need to apologize to none other than Jeremy Mack Truck Whitney. I know some of you didn't hear that correctly, so I'm going to say it again. Jeremy Mack Truck Whitney, I apologize. Why, you may say? Oh, because he's not only the biggest running back in the league, literally and number-wise, but he's destroying his competition as a rookie. Did you know, in a secret tryout held by the New York Jets, that Jeremy was officially clock running the 40 at a 4.56? In college, they caught him at 4.6. The man came into the league knowing he needed to be faster and worked his tail off to do it. Not only that, but his game speed is something different. Once he gets those big thighs moving, he can't be caught or stopped. This boy, no, let me correct that. This man is not only just power, he's speed, deceitful speed. And I'm just going on the record and saying that Stephen A. Smith has been deceived as well. And I know that sounds bad, so let me tell you some of the things that I like about the Mack Truck. Number one, he's consistent. He's consistently running the ball hard every down, every week, so much that he's won countless players of the week in his division. Should I name them? Week 5, he rushed for 210 yards and 3 touchdowns. Week 8, 257 yards, 4 touchdowns. Week 9, 191 yards and a touchdown. 153 receiving yards and a touchdown. Week 10, 259 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. And I could keep going, but why waste your time? You've seen the highlights. And not only that, but he's making big plays against big defensive playmakers. He's a man amongst boys, and he's just toying with them. I'm not sure if we've seen even half of his full potential yet. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am a fan of Mack Truck. I'll do you one better. I'm a stan of Jeremy Mack Truck Whitney. And I can't wait to see him run it up in the playoffs this season. Now. I don't know how far they will go with Aaron Rodgers coming back from injury. He hasn't played in a while, but I know if Jeremy Whitney is on my parlay, I'm going to win. He's a winner. He's a competitor. And above all else, he's him. Jeremy Mack Truck Whitney, ladies and gentlemen.
The playoffs had begun, and in our first round, we got to meet the Bills again, and this time I wasn't walking out of that stadium with an L. On 2nd and 6, I found a small hole that led to the outside where I saw nothing but green in front of me as I start the game off with a dynamic touchdown. On 2nd and 9, I run the wheel route, and Aaron finds me for a dot on the sideline to move the chains. On 3rd and 8, Aaron sends me in the motion on a cross route, and somehow I'm wide open down the field, scoring another touchdown to give us the lead before going into halftime. And you won't believe this, but coach calls the same play. I get sent in motion again on 2nd and 11. The same play crosses up the defense again. I'm wide open. Aaron throws the perfect pass, and I'm back into the end zone. 3 huge plays back-to-back like this is the type of energy to kill a team's momentum. This will become true because early in the 4th on 2nd and 10, Aaron drops back and throws an absolute dot over the top of the defense as we score yet again. Just to finish off the Bills with 2 minutes left in the game, coach calls a run play on the 2-yard line, and I'm putting points back on the board to advance us to the 2nd round of the playoffs. I rushed for 133 yards and had 2 rushing touchdowns. Now the next round of the playoffs, and this was the beginning of the end as we were facing off against the overpowered Baltimore Ravens. Coming out being down 14-0 after no productive drives, we were looking to produce late in the first quarter. On the 20-yard line, Aaron Rodgers drops back and finds a dot across the middle to Wilson to get us down to the 1-yard line, where I walk into the end zone, getting us our first points of the game. On 2nd and 1, with just seconds to go in the half, I bounce to the outside for 39 yards before quickly going out of bounds to stop the clock, hopefully putting us in position to score. Unfortunately, we couldn't punch it in and only leave with 3, but coming back from halftime, we run our favorite pass play and confuse the defense yet again. This time, I come up with a huge lead block, and Wilson breaks the tackle to get us all the way into the red zone. On 2nd and 8, coach calls my number, and I fight my way into the end zone, trying to make this game a little bit more manageable. Unfortunately, our defense did not show up to play, and we're down 35-18 late in the 4th when we run our patented play that miraculously works again. I'm tiptoeing down the sideline as I put up another touchdown. And I guess the Baltimore defense felt bad for us because with 58 seconds left on the clock, a huge hole opens up for me and I take advantage, especially considering this game has been over for a while and I score my last touchdown of the season. All that hard work leads to us losing this game and ending our season early. I rushed for 209 yards and scored 3 rushing touchdowns. Finishing up that season, I went on to go to the Pro Bowl. I won Rookie of the Year, MVP of the season, and NFC Offensive Player of the Year. And I'm happy to say in my 5th season, I was actually able to win a Super Bowl. And that's my story. My career was an amazing one that I wouldn't trade for the world. And I guess that answers the question. A 300-pound running back could do it all, and I'm happy to say I was the one to do it first.
Oh my God.
You like it?
Ma, you really put a different spin on Christmas this year.
Nah, you being a hater. I did the best I could do by myself.
Why didn't you hire somebody to do this for you?
Hire somebody? Christmas isn't about hiring somebody. You're supposed to decorate with family.
Where's Raiden? He ain't been doing nothing